What about billing? People complain about billing a lot. tie tie billing into guest experience.
Tell you stories about billing, just that I work with in the various companies I've been with. I think hotels sometimes forget that the billing process is really also an experience for the guest, and you really have to make sure you have an established process for recognizing your guest and how to really recover your guests to win them back. You need to remember one thing that I know to be true, and you have to really be transparent and be honest with your guests if you make a mistake. I think that's so important that a lot of leaders and a lot of frontline associates don't really get. So I think that, it's okay. People make mistakes all the time, but you want to learn from those mistakes so you're not making them over and over. When they're coming to you and they're paying out their hard-earned cash, for services you offer, you need to understand from their perspective what they're looking for, and that goes back to your brand promise. If it's not working, for example, I had situations that guests were continually coming up and complaining about the billing process. So if the process is really being too difficult for the guests to understand, you really need to look at that, evaluate that to see other different ways to make it more transferable or transparent to the guests so they understand it. This also can change how your guests feel about, when they're leaving the resort. You never actually want to have your guests walk away with a billing problem. And you really want to do everything you can to resolve it in first contact. I can't tell you how many times I've had teams I've worked with and associates that work with me that they would come in with billing problems. So we really need to really teach your associates how to deal with that, because that also impacts the financials and the return on investment that you're making, not only in your staff, but for the guests to come back. And I think that's so important. I know Ritz-Carlton, for example, gives a great example that I remember when I went work with them about empowering employees to create a luxury experience. And you really want to put the guest first in every moment that you're working with them.